Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Grad School Buddy, a show that gives simple answers to questions about grad school. I'm your host, Ebele Chukwumoyi, a development economist and impact storyteller who has a master's from Georgetown University and a bachelor's from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. We hope this show helps you make better grad school decisions. Let's dive right in. Hello, everybody. Good day and welcome to another episode of Grad School Buddy. So today I have Esther and she'll be sharing with us a lot of tea. She's somebody who has lived in UK, New Zealand, and she just relocated to the US. Living in UK and New Zealand, she was there for school and she just relocated to the US to start working. And I think it's very important to have young professionals, people especially who are just moving to new countries to start their career, to tell us what that process was. And of course, Esther also lived a lot in Nigeria. So please, Esther, would you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Thank you for inviting me to your podcast. My name is Esther Asamudo. I am a physiologist. I have 3 degrees. So I did my bachelor's in physiology in Nigeria, and then I did my master's in medical physiology in London, and I did my PhD in cardiovascular physiology in New Zealand, and I'm currently in the US working as a research fellow in pharmacology. So I think that's the educational side of me. Aside that, I am a photographer. That's what I enjoy doing on the side. And yeah, thank you for inviting me to your podcast.
Thank you. I actually remember because I have some pictures that you shot in Port Harcourt. You're one of the few people I know who has schooled in 3 different countries. So what I really do want you to share with us is, what differences would you say you noticed in the academic system? I feel like there are skills that you need to survive as a student in Nigeria. You need a new set of skills to survive as a student in the UK and in New Zealand. So how are you able to cope with the changing academic environment? And what skills would you say have helped through your career path?
Okay. Um, I think schooling in in the UK and New Zealand, there is so many similar things compared to schooling in Nigeria. I always say that schooling in Nigeria is you don't have the resources, but you have to deliver. So you have to deliver at the end of the day. But abroad, they give you all the resources, and then they don't really put so much pressure in delivering. In fact, you are the one who puts the pressure on yourself. So obviously, I think you know how Nigerian educational system is. But in New Zealand and UK, I found that they were more inclusive, especially for people with disabilities. So people with learning disabilities, physical disabilities, and that was a major difference. It's something I feel like has not been implemented in Nigeria, which will really, I don't know, encourage people to actually feel included in the educational system. Now, which other difference? I think there's several differences.
Could you tell us a little? Because I know that part of being a student, there's the academic part. But I know that one thing that a lot of people have complained about, myself included, is figuring out the healthcare system, especially here in America. So you can also tell us about the well-being aspect. How have your experiences changed from
Okay.
country to country?
So I was going to explain like US compared to New Zealand and UK. In terms of healthcare, I think UK and New Zealand were quite similar. Even though I wasn't as sick, but the process was always smooth and it was always easy to get access to healthcare at any time. And then the health insurance was very reliable. So health insurance covered most of the things I needed. In the UK, I don't think I needed health insurance. I think I was just covered. I think it's free for students because I could go to the clinic anytime. In New Zealand, I needed health insurance, and still I could go to the clinic anytime. I could book appointment to see any general practitioner.
Okay. I feel like just starting off this podcast, I asked you a very, very serious question. And
Mm.
one thing I love most about you is that even though you do very serious things, I mean, you're a research fellow in pharmacology, you have your PhD from New Zealand, you got your master's in the UK. By all ramifications, you are somebody who you're doing really great in your career. And I tell you very often how proud I am of you. But one thing I also love about you is that there's this playful aspect that you have. I sometimes see your videos on TikTok. I see your videos on WhatsApp and they make me happy. Like some days I'm just going through it and I see your upload and it makes me very happy. And so, my question for you is how have you maintained that other aspect of you, that part of you that's so cheerful? You're willing to share this other side of you. You're not even afraid, like, oh my God, let's if somebody who knows me in a professional setting sees these videos, how are they going to see me? Like, how do you process all of that?
Talking okay, so I'll start from the last part. I struggle with that, but I think my senior professional colleagues have come to, they've come to terms with the fact that this is who she is.
Yeah.
Because I always, at first, I was being careful. I said, oh, if I go to work, they're going to see me differently. But I've come to realize like this is just who I am. It's not like I'm doing something really bad. I'm just creating humor. And it turns out they actually love it. They come to me, I saw your video. They don't treat me differently and say,
Yeah.
oh, because she did that video, she's on a serious person. It's just
Yeah.
that when they come to the office, I'm this quiet person. I don't talk. So
Yeah.
when people say, "Oh, can I send you a request on Facebook?" I'm a bit careful because that means they'll start seeing my other side, or they request, "Oh, can I connect with you on social media?" I just feel awkward because I know they'll see the other side. But anyway, actually, to be honest, I'm an introvert. But every time I say I'm an introvert, people say, "It's not possible." I don't know. I don't see myself as an extrovert because crowds drain me, or too much socializing tends to drain me somehow. If I socialize too much, I disconnect. I
Yeah.
might be in a gathering, everybody's happy, I'm just in one corner. That at that point, I think my is there something like my socialometer, if
Mm-hmm.
there's anything like that, it's in the red. So I really need to leave or go somewhere. I really enjoy my personal time. During those times, I make all these videos, and because I don't know, that ensures I'm not that lonely. I make all those videos and put it out, and people laugh about it. So that's how I manage my time. Now, having to move from country to country, I wouldn't say it's easy, and it's not something I would recommend or say, okay, I enjoy it so much. If I was
Mm-hmm.
moving as we're traveling, that's okay. But when you've moved to a country, built relationships, you have to pack up, move again, build another set of relationships. It's not that easy to cope. I find every time I move to a new place, the first few months are always lonely,
Yeah.
very lonely, because I am not when it comes to being social, I'm not someone that puts myself out.
Yeah.
Like I'll intentionally go to places and say I want to be social. People just come up to me and then they sense my energy and like, oh, you're always so positive. Then now some of my friends now nickname me the queen of positive vibes. So
Sushi.
you're always so positive, and that's what attracts people to me. So at the end
Yeah.
of the day, I don't really go finding friendships. Friendships just find me because they enjoy my company, and I do enjoy that. But for someone who is moving countries, I don't know if you've seen on Twitter where people say, "Oh, don't move abroad. It's lonely. It's this. It's that."
And then other people are like, why you come move?
Yeah, yes. Why? If you're tired of being lonely, come back. Let
Come
another
back.
person
Yeah.
go. So I think it's all about how you create the life for yourself. You move to a new country. So yeah, I said earlier that I don't go finding friendships. Friendships just find me, but that doesn't mean I'm being proud or anything. Like before, I could even before I can even say, oh, I want to be friends with this person, the person already considering, I really want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
So what I do is once I move to a new city or a new country, I look out for like churches. So if you're a
Mm-hmm.
Christian, look out for churches. I look out for like maybe social groups, maybe painting or arts
Mm-hmm.
exhibition groups. I look out for obviously if you are going for a walk or school, you might find people, but I always find that um like for example, I moved here and then the first people I became friends with were like my work colleagues. But you know that thing about being friends with your work colleagues, you don't force it, you just let it slowly so that it wouldn't interfere with your profession as a whole.
Okay.
Okay.
But then, like, I feel like you shared very, very important, especially with especially with regards to dealing with loneliness, like where people can meet friends. I know a lot of people have definitely talked about churches and social groups. So I'm very happy you shared that because I think people underestimate the loneliness
Mm,
that you can face, especially if you go to a place where there aren't many people like you.
mm,
So it's like now you're learning a new culture and you also don't have anybody to learn that with. So you're just
mm.
alone. So,
Yeah.
guys, definitely church, social group, and be friends with your work colleagues. Okay.
In
And then I know
oh
that you
wait,
talked
let
about,
me
tell me.
okay. I was just going to add in UK, I joined I think there's the website called meetup.com or meeting. Um
Okay.
I think it's called meetup.com.
Weren't
Yeah,
you scared about what if you met,
like what if
like
I
what if you
met
met
like
people that you thought you vibed with, but then when you met them, you realize, oh, more, this isn't what I expected.
oh there are several meetups like they on say we go on I think meetup.com. There are several kinds of groups.
Yeah.
So when I joined, I just went to look for photography group and it
Mm-hmm.
was a great vibe like and I just got stuck there. I made friends, so I didn't have any reason to say okay I don't want to hang out with them, but it's possible that you could go to a group and they're not they don't vibe as much as you want. You stop going, you go to another group, and then
Okay.
just keep experimenting, hanging out. Somehow you start to
You
make
find a
friends.
place.
Yeah, and also I was going to ask, in New Zealand, the Nigerian community is way smaller. So most of my friends came from church, Bible study.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, there are always ways to meet up. It just depends on how much you want to, I don't know, how
Interact.
much you want to socialize.
Okay. So now I have questions about, some of the things you said. You talked about the fact that sometimes making friends is, I think, a little easier in quotes because people approach you first for friendship.
Mhm.
So you don't really have to go out there per
Hmm.
se. But one of the things you said that really attracted people to you is your positive energy. And
Hmm.
so if you were to kind of advise an introvert who it takes them time for the world to see that aspect of them that brings out, a lot of positivity. What would you tell them, and especially because I know that being a bird or even being a human being can be hard. And some days you don't
Hmm.
feel positive. You talked about the fact that sometimes being outside, your social battery starts to deteriorate. So how do you deal with all of that? And what would your advice be?
Okay. Um. So I would just use an example instead of explaining. I guess from the example you can understand like how
Yeah.
to as an introvert how to make friends, and also how to I don't know, when your social battery is drained you just go back and
Yeah.
I just stay on your own for a while. So I moved to the US. I didn't know anyone, like I didn't have any friends in this particular city,
Yeah.
and so I was worried. Also, you know how you I mean it was easy in UK, in New Zealand to just want to socialize, but I'm getting old. You understand? Old age can make you feel I don't just want to try all of this because I don't want anybody to try me.
Yeah.
And you don't have
Mm-hmm.
that patience to endure some kind of thing. So what I did was, first of all, I went to it. I looked online and I saw this church that had black people. I said, okay, I will join this church.
Wait, I have a
So
question for you. How did you see
Mhm.
the church and know that it had Black people?
Okay. So actually, so I went to, okay, okay, to be honest, a friend had mentioned that, oh, this is, Baptist church.
Mhm.
So when I looked and I saw that there were many like Black people, I was like, okay, that's a good place to start instead of just going and then I don't know anyone.
Yeah.
So I went to the church and it was nice. So after church, people were taking pictures. And I just looked and mentioned, oh, and like I said, introvert. So I was just in the corner. I was like, oh, let me take a picture of you. Then I was like, oh, I'm actually a professional. And he was
Mhm.
like, take our pictures from that. Oh, give me your number. Oh, And they
Yeah.
said, they started getting comfortable. So I would say I didn't really put myself out there, but I know there's something that can attract people to someone.
Yeah.
So saying you're a photographer, that means you can take good pictures, not just like them hiring you, but that means at least you can take good pictures. And so I made some friends that day that someone dropped me off back after church. And then
Okay.
another thing I did was I was invited for Bible study. Most of the people at the Bible study hadn't even met me. This is Bible study that's part of church. So I made meat pie and ching ching
For
and I
Bible
took it
study.
there.
Sister
Yeah.
Esther.
Because they always have, I was told there's always refreshment. Like,
Wait, so are you trying to tell me
refreshment
that
is
in
good.
every Bible study there's meat pie and chin chin?
No, they actually eat like chips, drink juice. So I was like,
I think
maybe
I
I
should
can
go
do
for Bible
this.
studies more.
So I made meat pie and chin chin. I have made more friends. In fact, they
Yeah.
posted it on the Bible study group. People that didn't come, like, who is this person?
Oh,
Who made this? Oh
I
my
think I think
God.
that's really touching. I don't like number one, it shows the intentionality because it takes time to make those things.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
And it also shows that you really rate them.
So, at the end of the day, I've not forcefully interacted with people, but I just had to touch a side of them, and then they'll be more open. And from there, I could communicate to like, most people came up to me, oh, that was really nice, Neil. So, where are you from? What are you doing? What are you doing here in the US? And slowly, I have settled in. But then at the end of at the end of the Bible study, they said, "Oh, there's this what's it called? Was it art show or something that we have tomorrow?" I just looked at the person and was like, "Oh, okay, thanks for inviting me." But then I'm not going, and it's not because I don't want to. I felt like I've reached my peak of socializing,
Yeah.
and I just like withdrew. And it's how do I say? Um, the person I didn't want the person to feel bad that I'm
Yeah.
not. I was just like, oh, I'm going to be busy. So from there, I can just retract, spend my weekend by myself. So today I plan to go to the park, just walk around by myself.
That's so beautiful.
I just take
Honestly,
in
that's so
nature.
relaxing.
Yeah, it's like a bougie thing to do.
Every time I tell my friends about walks, what's wrong with you? Why would you do that? Why are you voluntarily walking? But it's so
Oh my God.
relaxing.
I find the same reaction from my friend. I do when I do my walk, sometimes I do like prayer walks. So during
Mhm.
my walk, I'm either like praying or doing some meditation but they find that weird. I don't know why. I
I think
find
it's
that
very relaxing.
walks are when
You
at
also give
times,
yourself time to think. Sorry.
yes, exactly. That's what I was going to say. I disconnect from everyone else. I can even put my turn off my internet. It's just time for myself.
Yeah.
Because, for example, okay, when I was in New Zealand, I used to do walks a lot because I lived with, I had like 4 flatmates.
Yeah.
So, and when you're in your room, someone is constantly, oh, do you know about this? Oh, this gist. Oh, and you can't meditate or really be by yourself in that case. So I would go
Yeah.
on walks, but they used to say I'm trying to avoid them. I'm being antisocial.
I don't think so. I think you live with them. You can't really avoid them.
I can't.
Okay.
I can't
So
really avoid them. True.
I just want to I want to make sure that we kind of like reiterate two very important points that you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned. For an introvert who is trying, like you move to a new city, a new country,
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to get to know more people.
Yeah.
So Esther definitely just specified to us that if you have skills that
Mm-hmm.
can be helpful to other people, offer your
Yeah.
skills, e.g., how she walked up to those people to say like she was a professional photographer And I think another thing that you mentioned that was very important is honoring invitations that you can and bringing gifts where you can.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's just being, isn't pick one and let go the other. It's
yeah.
just being selective, but always sure, because the thing with friendships is like, you're planting something at the beginning, need to nurture, get you somewhere. You don't really want to go, but okay, for example, now, yes, I haven't honored the other invitation, but one of them is doing a graduation party. And I okay, I
Don't
won't tell
say
the
it.
truth. I'm actually going. I'm going. I'm
Yeah.
going. And there's even a dress code. I
Oh,
have a
that's so
dress.
cool.
So I'm actually going. So it's things like that. Oh, I saw her here. It shows that
Yeah.
even though I'm introvert, I don't want to keep to myself. I like
Yeah.
just socializing at times. So you can be picky about invitation, and that's fine.
Okay. Then I have a question that's kind of different from career or academics or
Mm.
kind of socializing, and that's about your love for photography. I've
Mm.
noticed that a lot of people, when they start really working on their career, like you decide to go to graduate school or you decide to even, let's say you find this company that you want to work in, and so you start getting the necessary skills to work there, they
Mm.
struggle with the things that bring them joy. And in your case, that's photography. How have you been able to manage with this, especially as an international student? I know that you said that in the UK, you met this group of photographers through the meetup.com,
Mhm.
through links like meetup.com. But, even for your own self, even if you weren't taking pictures of other people and you just want to do something about photography for yourself, how have you found both the time and the mental energy? Because, sometimes you're doing things you love, but then they're not real work. And then you feel guilty, like, or more, I've spent 5 hours editing this picture and I could have been solving world hunger. So how do you deal with that guilt?
Um, I don't think I've had to deal with guilt for doing something I enjoy. Like, so apart from photography, I enjoy baking as well. Someone would think I started photography as a side hustle. Yes, it might feel like a side hustle, but I actually have genuine passion for it. It's something that when I'm highly saturated with work and everything, I can just turn to photography and find joy, or turn to baking and find joy.
Yeah.
Now, what I didn't tell you about when I made the meat pie was I was really stressed at work, and I was not really in a good mood. And so I
Okay.
just channeled that energy into baking. I baked 20 meat pies, fried chin chin, and made plantain chips. So that's
I
where
have a
my,
question for you. Did you lose my address?
to be honest, I don't know if it, to be honest, I was going to ask you, do you want?
Hello.
I was going to
Yes.
send you some. Yeah, I will definitely send you some. If that's, I will
Thank you.
definitely send you some. Actually send some to Denver because
Can
my
you
friend asked
imagine?
for it.
Wow.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
This life.
I will definitely. That's on my
Thank
to
God
do
for
list.
grad school, buddy. This is how I found out.
As I was saying, so I
Mhm.
channel. So when I feel like I'm highly saturated with like the things I'm required to do, I can just turn to photography or turn to baking as that thing that just helps me relax. So that's why
Yeah.
I never get tired of doing, even if I spend 5 hours doing photography, I know that I'll need to put in that 5 hours in my work. Like I need
Yeah.
to put in that lost time in my work. I'll just stay up and still do my work. Like the things I'm passionate about, not things I force myself to do. It's just something that helps me relax. It might look like work,
Mhm.
right? But it's actually helps me relax. So
I was
sometimes it wouldn't make sense to someone
I'm
that
glad you said that because I was going to ask you, and I'm so sorry to like ask you right in the middle of a
mm,
sentence. But do you ever feel like when you were making those meat pies, did you think to
mm,
yourself it has to be perfect? And if you felt that it was not getting as perfect as you wanted it to be, do you ever get stressed such that it's like something that's supposed to be giving you joy is now stressing you?
interestingly, no, I do not. I don't know, but I
That's
didn't
so
seek for
cool.
perfection.
Mm-hmm.
No one forced me to do it.
Yeah.
If I was
Mm-hmm.
doing it as a side hustle, then I'll be, oh God, I need to make it perfect for the client.
Yeah.
But I just, in fact, there were some of the meat pies that opened, and I was like, they're not going to say, oh, let me throw
Esther,
this
don't
out
send
because
me open meat pie.
potential client, so I can't do
Yeah.
that. No.
Okay.
So I do not, because it's a passion, it's just something I'm doing to enjoy myself, to relax. I'm not really seeking perfection. I just
Mm.
need that feeling that I get from just going away from something else,
Yeah.
So yeah. So I don't struggle to find time for photography. I might not have time for it, but when I've told myself I really need to take a break. I really need to relax from this. Then I turn to things I'm passionate
Okay. Thank you
about.
so much for sharing. I was just curious. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
Okay, now this will be my last set of questions because I promised
Okay.
you that this will be 30 minutes and I have failed already. So I know you've talked a lot about the fact that your latest stop is to US. And I one thing I don't want is for people to, a lot of times I'm scrolling on Twitter and I see people say stuff like, you can relocate to the US. All you need is two chickens. One, like, it's like I feel like they just list things that are very
Mm.
unrealistic, right?
Mhm.
So how did you find your job in the US? And what made you decide, like, hey, I've lived life in Nigeria, I've lived life in the UK, I've lived life in New Zealand. Now I'm ready to work, and this is where I want to work. And what was that experience like?
I don't know if I want to go into the story of how I found my job, because but I'll keep it short. So I finished my PhD in New Zealand and I started looking for a job. But New Zealand has fewer opportunities compared to most of the countries, because imagine a country of just 4 million people. Let's say if I want to go into academia, there's only 3 universities in the whole country that has like my department. So the
Yeah.
competition is like really high because there are very few opportunities. So I started looking at other countries, considered Australia, I considered US, and obviously with every country there are like pros and cons. You it's not like it's not like I hated New Zealand and said, oh no, I don't want to stay there. But I thought, okay, if I move to a different country with more opportunities, maybe I'd want to live there. And then so the place that I'm working now, I did not at the start I didn't want to apply to it because I felt it was a very huge opportunity and it's in the US. I'm not a citizen, I might not qualify. Someone randomly sent me a message on LinkedIn and asked me, do you want to work at Harvard? And I'm like, and I said, seriously? When I saw the
Mhm.
message, I turned to my friend, I said, someone is asking me if I want to work at Harvard. The person wants to laugh at me. Like, how can I even qualify? And my friend's like, you speak positive things about yourself. And he started scolding me. So it turns out they needed a particular skill. And if I had that skill, that's where I would have worked. But then he asked me, okay, since you don't have this skill, but you have this particular skill, have you tried applying to this place? And I said no. And he asked me why. And so I explained to him that I don't think my CV is up to. And he just laughed. I said, come on, just send an email, send your application in. And that's how I got the job. And the funny thing is, I didn't even send the application when he asked me to. I applied to a different job. And and at the interview, the person asked me, so why have you tried? Okay, he said, why have you decided to come and work for me? Have you applied to this place, this place? And I said, is this a sign? What is this? Like, I'm coming to you for a job and you're asking me if I've applied somewhere else. So I said, okay, cool. I applied to this place and my employer was so happy to have me. And that's just a short story about it. But I would
Yeah.
say it was a life-changing process to get to from my application to finally getting the job. Now to your second question, I've forgotten. I think you're asking me how I made up my mind that I want to move here, right?
Yeah.
Obviously the job brought me here. And since I've been here, although I've just been here a few weeks, so I'm still settling in. And it might sound weird, but this is not. I don't see this as my last stop. If I wake up, you know, years down the line in this job, and I feel like, I think this other job is okay, and I want to change location. I will, but then who knows what will determine my decision by then. I think you get it what I'm talking about. But I'm just saying that if you have an opportunity and you don't really have a barrier or something that's really stopping you from getting there, and you have the resources to actually move there, then you should. And also, moving here wasn't easy because I had to find the accommodation, look for I obviously pay my flight tickets, but then immigration process and all of that. That could be like a whole new podcast about it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that smooth. But I was lucky enough. Interestingly, I found my accommodation on Facebook, and I hadn't even met the person before. It was a real gamble. I hadn't even seen the house because I was not here in the US. But it turns out I took the house and it gave me, and my flatmate is so amazing. Having to move, there were things I had to take off. It wasn't that easy. I hope I've answered your question because I think I
You have,
answered.
and you also bettered new ones because I have follow-up questions.
Okay.
So, first of all, thank you so much for sharing. I think that is so fascinating. And I think that is something I've also noticed about finding jobs here. It's like sometimes you see people who need your skills or people who know people who need your skills, and they really encourage you to either apply or they tell those people about you, and you're there thinking, why me? Your
Yeah.
village people are really trying to make you overthink it.
Yeah.
But the truth is, like, you also had those skills. I mean, you had gone to school so long for all these things. You had put in your own personal efforts even outside school. So you had also prepared yourself for this moment. As much as it was providential that that person sent you a message on LinkedIn, you were already in a point in your life where you really had everything that they needed. So I think it was those two things. And then I just want to ask you, because I know that this podcast, especially for me, is very important for young Nigerians. I really want not just Nigerians, but anybody who's listening who is a younger person, a younger adult. I want them to be able to pick life skills. So my question for them is, if you look back at everything that you have done in the last 5 to 10 years, and you were to advise younger Esther about what she should do, everything down to your LinkedIn profile that made a potential employer reach out to you, what would you tell them? And this question, like, it doesn't have to be a serious answer, just be anything. Like, what would you tell younger you, thinking retrospectively, that would have made this journey easier?
Okay. Here's where I'll start. First of all, if you are an international student like me, that I was, to a new country, think about 2-3 years from now, what do I want from this? For me, I think that's one of the regrets I have, because every time I moved to a new country, I was just in the moment. I was like, okay, let me just get this thing done. But like when I started my PhD, I didn't think, okay, when I finish my PhD, what do I really want? It was hazy, and I wasn't really proactive about it. So by the time I finished my PhD, I found myself hanging and actually shocked, and then looking through my skills and realizing, okay, this is the job I want, but I don't have the skills required for this job. So, but now I've come to US, I'm wiser. From day one, I'm already planning, what do I want to do in 2 years? Okay, if this is what I want in 2 years, and then this is the skills I require, so I need to start now. So that's one of the things. If start planning your life from day one. No, start planning your future from day one. So 3 years down the road, what do I want to get out of this? What else? What do I see myself doing next? Because for someone like me, why I didn't think about it was, I'm an international student, I'm an immigrant. When I finish, they'll send me back to my country. Or how am I so sure of my immigration future, that kind of thing, if you get what I mean. Why am I making big plans when I'm not even sure I will stay here? So that's one thing I would have done. And then secondly, there were reasons in, like, when I started my PhD, I thought, maybe I should change my career focus. But again, I was thinking, what will my future be? So I did not do that. And now in hindsight, I wish I did earlier. And then I don't know what could have happened if I moved to the field that I wanted to move to, but I would just say, how do they say, dare to dream. Like, don't be held back by thinking, okay, when I finish my studies, I'm moving back to Nigeria. What's really the point of gaining skills? So don't be held back by by conditions like that. Just think proactively and then dream big. You never know where, for example, when someone told me, oh, do you want to work at Harvard? And I said, like, how do I even qualify? There are lots of people. There are citizens that they could hire because, like, for example, having to come here, the way I came here, for some people, they would rather hire a citizen. So they had to prove beyond doubt that they have to hire me. I have the skills that a citizen of this country doesn't have.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, they're hiring me. So I'll just say build skills. Yeah, build skills and then just dream big. Dream. If there's nothing can, how do I even say? Don't limit yourself in your dream. Don't think
About your own self.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times your ability to dream also really depends on your environment. I think if that person hadn't reached out to you to say, do you want to work in Harvard? You might have eventually got to that point where you think, I can definitely work in Harvard, but would you have like thought it right then? Like, I feel like sometimes, even achieving some things makes you realize, oh, like this other thing is possible.
Yeah, I was sorry to cut you. One of the things I thought about working in Harvard, one of the things I thought about was I'm not even a citizen. So that's not like an Ivy League school, right? How would they leave everybody and come to me? And also in academia, it's important they have loads of publications. I didn't have them. Considering the background that I've come from to get to this point, having a lot of publication is actually a struggle for me. Yeah. So I couldn't have dreamt that big. So you are right about environment. But yeah, it still doesn't hurt. I know the environment can sometimes limit your dreams, but you just dream as wide as. Now, if someone would tell me, okay, someone asked me the other day, would you like to be a CEO of a pharmaceutical industry? And I was like, of course. So if someone could have asked me maybe a year ago, I would say, wait, first of all, I'm not a pharmacist. Like, how? But I just told him, sure, when am I starting the job?
Yeah.
And I was serious about it. And also, we should remember that abroad, your skills matter more. I mean, your certificates do, but your skills matter more. Because I see here in my department, people who studied, you see someone studied history and all of a sudden, person is in pharmacology and you're like, excuse me, sir, excuse me. You're coming from there to here. It's just because he had the skills that's required for that particular role in that department, and they can easily switch. But I think that's one thing in Nigeria that you can't really do. Switch between I should say career fields like that. You can't really do that.
Okay. So you said number one, they should start thinking about their future, like from day one. Think about what you want 2 to 3 years after this. Don't be afraid to explore new grounds and don't be held back by limited thinking. I really believe that. And I know that I talked about environment, but I don't know how to explain it. I think like what I really want this podcast to also be is to let people know that there are new things that you can even think about that you have never considered in your life. And this thing I just said, I'm going to ask you one last question. I'm sorry, please. But the next thing that you said was, like think proactively and dream big and then develop skills. Skills are so important. I tell myself like, it's okay to not have certain skills today, but if you really want something next year, if you want to apply for that same thing, maybe you should have more skills for it. And sometimes it sucks, like to learn new things. But if it really matters to you, it will make your life a lot easier. So I definitely agree. Develop skills. So my last question for you, and thank you so much for hanging out with me on a Saturday morning, early Momo. My last question for you is, one thing I also want people to know is like the different careers that they can actually explore. And so everybody who comes to the podcast, I try to end by asking them what a day in their life is. So, what is a day in the life of a research fellow in pharmacology? What do you do? The skills you talked about, like which ones do you use every day? And just like since we are trying to be those people that keep this underneath an hour,
Mm.
if you had any random advice, both for us as grad school buddy, the information that we put out to younger people who want to go through this journey, or just like freestyle, something that you would love to end with, what would it be?
Okay.
Those are my last two.
Yeah, I'll start with a day in my
The day
life.
to day, your day to day,
Yeah,
yeah.
day to day. I just resume, and as a research person, the skills I really use the most are planning, writing. I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of reading. So it just depends on which phase I am in. If I am in the phase of writing a grant, or I'm in the phase of doing lab work, or I'm in the phase of writing up a paper. So currently, I'm in the phase of writing a paper. So I just get to work and then I start working on my paper. And obviously, I get distractions and all, but I always have a to-do list. That has really helped me. So I look at my to-do list and then I make sure I meet my goals for the day. And then I think that's what I do the most. But if it's on a day where I have to do experiments, I plan my experiments the day before and do my lab work, clean up, and then I just go straight home. And because of how my life is, I think there was one thing my sister once taught me. She said a triangular life. So you just go from school to the store and then to church and then to back to the house.
Yeah.
And then you just keep going like that. So I don't, well, once in a while go to, if I'm invited to an event, yeah. So that's my day to day. Just go to work. Either I'm writing a grant or writing my paper or doing lab work, and then I close for the day. That's all I do.
Okay.
And my advice, so this advice always touches everything. It is opportunity meets you in a place of service. One thing I've noticed about a few people I've talked to, they want to go to grad school, most of them abroad. But when you talk to them, so which school have you applied to? I'm still looking. I don't think they'll take me. God,
Yeah.
that first. Just do something like, because I have people who haven't started, or and so far I always, most times when my close friends tell me, oh, I haven't started, oh, I know these people, they charge admission fee of this. I'm like, you haven't even you haven't even submitted it, so how will you know if they are charging fee? I've even opted to pay for some people, like
Yeah.
application fee, because I want you to stand up. I need you to, it's different if you don't want to go to grad school. But if you want to, you have to be, some would say, oh, I can't apply because of scholarship. They're not going to give scholarship to someone who doesn't have admission.
That's true.
They won't just sit down. Right? But if you have admission, the department might look at your thing and review and say, this person doesn't have admission scholarship, but the result is good. And then they offer you a scholarship. You don't just sit down in your house and you've not submitted an application and you think they will call you and say,
Esther, I'm so sorry,
oh.
but I love the way you switched it to Nigerian auntie. Like, I've not submitted your application.
So that's what happened. Like, no one is going to come to your house and knock on the door and give you scholarship or give you opportunity or tell you we've waived GRE for this school or we've
Yeah.
waived English exam for this school. You have to stand up and look for it. I also say, now, if you don't want to do this thing yourself, there is an option of using an agent, but then you have to pay.
Yeah.
So it don't. So like I said again, opportunity meets you in a place of service. And there's this part I didn't mention before I got my PhD here.
Yeah.
Got my PhD in New Zealand before I got the scholarship. I was already working as a research assistant. Now, funny enough, I had applied to this school before, and I wasn't like, they didn't even reply my email or anything. But then I
The,
started the research assistantship position. Slash,
in
I
New
wanted to do a
Zealand.
PhD. No, this was in Nigeria.
Okay.
Slash, I wanted to do a PhD. And I started gaining some skills, which helped me update my CV. And I guess that's where the lecturer thought, okay, this person now has this skill, I don't know if you ever saw my first email, but this person now has this skill, has this skill. Let me now take her. That's how opportunity meets me in the place of service. And they granted me a scholarship of over 100,000 without seeing me. Even the day of the interview, they had to be on Skype. Network was so bad that as soon as the man saw the first video and I was frozen, and he was like, "Oh, I can see what you look like. So let's do an audio call." And then the network was so terrible that we actually ended up chatting on Skype. That's how bad.
Oh my God.
But I still got the scholarship. This is another miracle. But anyway, opportunity met me in a place of service. I was walking towards it and I got it. So if you really want to go to grad school, you want scholarship, there are certain opportunities you have to walk, you have to start. And then they will meet you somewhere. You won't just sit there and say, okay, I'll wait for them to advertise it. No, let it be that if, for example, you apply to 10 places, you have admission in 10 places, someone will randomly say, you could randomly talking to someone, he's like, oh, Gina, I know someone who wants to sponsor someone, and you already have the admission. So all the person needs to do is just remit the money to you. Not, oh, I know someone who has to sponsor someone. You're like, oh, I've not even applied for the admission. No. Do you get? So opportunity meets you in a place of service. That's my advice.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Esther. I love the fact that, this episode we had a good laugh, but you also shared some very solid advice. And I will just give a recap of what some of my favorite were. First of all, I love the fact that you talked about the fact that you're a queen of positivity. I really love positive vibes. I feel like the world is too hard already. So, as an introvert also, a lot of people don't believe that I'm an introvert. So I get that struggle. Just like tips about me that I'm an introvert. Why you make me repeat
They never
it?
believe us.
Oh, you said they never believe us. I thought you said they never believe what? Because you were asking me. I'm like, my team member. But okay, you shared about the fact that, just being a queen of positivity has helped you meet a lot of people. You shared about the fact that even sharing, your meat pie story. I've never tried that. I will try to come with more gifts. I also really love the fact that you shared the fact that opportunity meets you in a place of service. And, you shared so many ways, but with you getting your admission in New Zealand and with the job that you found here in the US. And I also love that you were very honest about the healthcare system, because it's a struggle that a lot of people will face. Like I have faced it, you have faced it, a lot of people I know have faced it. So thank you so much for sharing this time with us today. I really appreciate it. And I love how genuine and how much emotions you put into sharing with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on your podcast. And please invite me to more.
Please, because I know you talked about accommodation, flight, and immigration, and you said that that's a new podcast. So I wanted to even ask you, like, off air, but thank God you have put yourself on the spot now. I know I have an episode about accommodation, but I would really love to hear, even like if you have a new perspective on accommodation and flight and immigration, we'll definitely love to have you back.
Okay, yeah, I'll be glad to come back.
Oh my God, Esther, where can they find you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn. Yeah, so my name is the same everywhere. LinkedIn, Esther Asamudo. Facebook, Esther Asamudo. Only Instagram and Twitter that my name is Esther Odo. So, but you can search at Inem Ruby. So Inem is INEM, and then the Ruby is RUBIE. So, yeah.
Thank you. So please, guys, follow Esther or search for Inem Ruby. You might not accept your friend request, and that's okay.
You're making me popular, I'm shy.
But also, please, after following Esther, please also follow us at my grad school board. Read our newsletter, listen to our podcasts, ask us questions. Even if you have questions for Esther, ask us. We'll help you ask her. And thank you for listening. Have a beautiful day.